Well, welcome back everyone to the next installment of SimPEG Weekly Meeting. No particular items on the agenda again today. I've still been working through all the class stuff. We finally got through the first two labs, which are the first two that take up a lot of time. And went down to Wreck Beach yesterday, so it was interesting.
Mike did a few up and down the stairs with a lot of steel rods and, and hammers in his life. Did his fair share. You miss it, Mike? You miss it lots? No. You're muted, buddy.
It was always a good time, I guess.
Yeah. Take you out of your office.
Yeah. No, it was a good time. It was nice to be able to get down there, go and play around in the sand.
Oh yeah, and you guys got lucky. I guess it was not pouring yesterday. That's good.
It was nice. It was a nice day yesterday, actually, down there. Sunny in the afternoon, especially. Monday afternoon was a little bit more cloudier, but it was still pleasant weather, or pleasantly warm.
It's a balancing act at Rec. The sunnier, the more penises you see, and then the more cloud, the less naked people you have. So it's a balancing act, you know.
Yep. So anyway, well, so that's why essentially we should have some more stuff to talk about next week, at least as far as agenda related items. And we'll be going through that. I have no idea. Does anyone know who's on deck for the next seminar in October?
No, that's a good question. I was wondering that. I don't know if somebody volunteered or if we asked someone.
I'm not sure yet either, but I'll look into it and we start getting that together.
There is, I mean, if I can volunteer someone that is not even in the meeting and that I don't even know, like I've seen a lot of things happening on the Aurora repo on the SimPEG, and I'm just not sure and don't know what's happening there. So if those people working on that are willing to join the call at some point and present what they're doing in that SimPEG or Aurora package, I will be super keen on knowing what's happening.
Fair enough. Next week though, it's SEG, right? So it might be a little busy.
Oh yeah. Okay. So really quick reports from me. I've been going through. I finally got a little more time to work on some stuff. In fact, we started going through the cross gradient stuff again last night, so it's almost there. I just want to write a few more tests for it to make sure it's passing, hitting everything. And then I've got my interpolation mostly working for the tetrahedral meshes, and that's pretty much the last part that I think we need to get in. If you're curious about it, it makes use of a directed search to find a simplex that it's a part of. So part of interpolating at a tetrahedral mesh is finding like what triangle it's located in, right? And it's not always as simple as just looking for the nearest cell center, assigning that one. Because it could end up like outside of the triangle and still be close to a different cell center. So what I did was, since we need cell centers most of the time anyway, we just compute a KD tree from that to get close to one. And then you use a directed search. So on tetrahedral meshes, you work often with barycentric coordinates. And what you can do is so you get a triangle, and then you compute its barycentric coordinates. If it's a negative value, it means it's outside the triangle in a certain direction. So you compute the coordinates. If it's a negative value, you just move to that neighbor. So it's just kind of like, oh, I need to go that way. So I'm going to go look at that neighbor and check. So that's how a directed search works for a tetrahedral mesh. It's kind of neat. But yeah, that's coming right along.
Cool, man. Sweet.
Yeah. Other than that, oh, I forgot. Did everyone look through the thing? I was going to put up a poll on Friday, and I forgot about it. I'll put that up today on Discretize for the logo thing. I got sidetracked. I was like, oh, I was looking around if we had a poll bot on the SimPEG Slack channel, but I don't think we do. So I'll probably just do it in terms of react to this message, depending on which one you want. Just simple informal poll.
That, Joe, you can help me here. So if finite element would be discretized and can be used in SimPEG, it would be a different method from Nedelec as in custom or PetGem, right? It will not be Nedelec edge elements.
No, it's like the finite volume side of it.
Yeah,
and it's actually ends up being very similar to how we're doing curvilinear meshes.
Cool. That would be a super interesting comparison.
So it's just slightly different in that fact.
Yeah, cool.
I probably could have gone and done just like linear basis finite elements, but I chose to keep it more in the same wheelhouse as everything else has been defined in, talking about the finite volumes.
Yes, so. Makes sense. Cool.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. Thibaut, I see you got some stuff here.
Yeah, so last week I pushed more on that branch that I've been working on for a while for some improvement of the PGI implementation, and it's in the state now that I think is ready to be reviewed, and I've added a lot of things that I wanted to put that in that PR. There is a couple of numerical improvements, especially when physical property distribution are overlapping, so we do a better job with the gradient and Hessian in those cases. There is a lot of quality of life improvement in having better default parameters for a lot of things, so that we don't have to specify all of the parameters at all the time. And there is a couple of new functions that I added to now the quasi-geology model is readily accessible just through a single function call with no argument, rather than calling a series of functions to create it when we want to access it. So it's much easier on the user way. And one big thing too that is going to be nice for the users too is that the for the GMM, I actually now created a embedded function in it that you can just call it, and it's going to plot the GMM for you, instead of having in the tutorial I had that script of 50 lines for plotting it. So now it's just a single line of gmm.plot PDF, and that's it. And then if you have if you have a multi-dimensional GMM, you just have a flag to tell that you want to plot it in 2D instead of 1D, and you can just specify which component you want to plot. So it's very, very much easier to use. So that's so that's kind of and that was really the big util that I wanted to add in that PR too. So yeah, I'm happy with it now. Better numerical, better numericals, some bug fix, better defaults, easier to use, and new functionalities for plotting and accessing various values.
I'll have a look. So you're saying that it's ready for review. Yeah.
So a lot I'm happy if you can review. I know, Mike, also your feedbacks on using PGI were very instrumental for some of those changing. So if you want to have a look too and see if things works for you with that new branch, that would be great also.
And that fixes the update for scikit-learn, right?
Yes. So actually, it's kind of nice in a way that that's a very good point, Dom. It's like my previous version of PGI was not compatible with scikit-learn 1.0. So now this PR also addressed that. it's now compatible with scikit-learn 1.0, but it's still compatible with previous version of scikit-learn. So if you're using scikit-learn like 0.24, it's still working as well. So it's compatible with the new one, but it's also back compatible. So that's actually quite neat.
Cool. I'll go through that. I'll take a look through it as well. Where are we at? So I don't see anyone else on the quick report listed there. Anyone want to bring up what you've been up to the last few weeks? Dieter and Soggy, it's been a few weeks since we've seen you on here.
I've been on holiday the last day, so it was exciting, but nothing happening professionally. Just before I finished some things for Sogi, so once he gets time, I think we're pretty close with the SimPEG EMG3D stuff. I'm looking forward that Sogi throws it at some data.
Yeah, I also don't have any update, but yeah, I had a sort of kind of vacation / conference. So we went to LA. There was a big like a water conference in LA. So last week we went there with Angela and Daniel. So they had a lot of fun to enjoy LA. I had fun to meet up it's more like most of the participants were coming from either the governmental organization or commercial sectors. So it was interesting to see kind of what is the need of geophysics for these water managers, and what are the major applications that they were thinking and hoping to do. So yeah, it was interesting. I had a good conversation with somebody developing an EM system called AG10. So yeah, we're planning to have a survey using their system and comparing with the Aarhus totem system. Yeah, so it's interesting, kind of seeing interesting opportunities, and I think generally the use of SimPEG could be quite effective for their purposes, because they want to use a lot of geophysical data and integrate that into their hydrological modeling process. So yeah, it was interesting. I think it's an open question, how are you going to actually integrate geophysical data into kind of in a different discipline to actually make a decision or to actually manage how groundwater resources. So yeah, it's there were a lot of interesting conversations about that. So I'm not sure what's the answer, but it was good to recognize the need.
Mike, I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen you here too.
That's probably true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no development type stuff going on from my end. Just kind of mostly been working on putting together a draft of a paper for some of that gravity data from the Clear Lake area. So some cool results from that. But yeah, I think that's coming together. So that's exciting.
Oh, speaking of that, Mike, so DWR just actually started flying over entire California. So I think I'll send you a website. You can actually check. They have a flight plan, so you can check whether that flight plan covers your study area or not, because it's quite big area, so it likely cover.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Thanks, Soggy.
Cool.
I did work on refactoring the regularization last weekend, and I created a pull request. I managed to go down all the way to merging together base, sample, and Tikhonov, refactoring it out, running the sparse, and now I'm down to the PGI. I guess I need to update. I should reduce the amount of lines of codes by at least 50%, so it will be a lot nicer, a lot more English. And then yeah, hopefully next meeting we'll be ready for review. The question is, do we want to merge in the issue 1037 where we're dealing with the cell volumes before, or we just abandon it and deal with it with that new reg, because the new reg is going to handle it all.
What's the name? What's the name of that regularization? Is it sparse or
Okay,
regularization?
so I called it L2 regularization for kind of like the base, the usual normal one. It would replace basically the Tikhonov. I'm not too attached to what the name of the class is, but basically right now it's L2. We'll do like the usual like unnormalized gradients, and then sparse is a child class of it. Same thing as PGI, right? So we can start attaching to it, but they're just sharing a whole lot more with each other. And it's much more obvious where the length scales are happening, if they're normalized or not. It's basically just a switch. It's an argument. Do you want to normalize it or not? By default, it's no. And then sparse is going to say yes, and then it's all going to be taken care of. I think it will reduce the duplication of code a lot, because there was a lot of same things being reused. And I also took out properties out of regularization. So we're just going to do like getter, setters and regular Python property. So yeah, let's take a look in a week or two once it's PGI is updated. I think we'll need also, I need to add a bunch of deprecation warnings, right? Because some of the names will be changing a bit. So just keep them around.
Yeah.
So Dom, just just a heads up, like as you're going to PGI, the way it's implemented, like it's single PGI.py .py file, but inside there is like two PGI regularization. There is simple PGI, which actually like is a mirror of the simple regularization, and there is PGI, which is a mirror of the Tikhonov one. So like one has the volume weight and like simple. So PGI had the volume weights and simple PGI didn't have it. So if you can merge them in both and put a flag, that's awesome.
That's great.
I just did that because I wanted to mirror the base simple and Tikhonov.
Yeah, I was wondering because I started reading it. I was like,
up on like what's happening.
It seemed to be a lot of code duplication. There's like, what's going on here? But that makes sense.
It was completely duplicated. It was only the cell weights, and it was just to mirror simple and Tikhonov.
I got you. That's great. I think that should be pretty easy. And I also added so we have cell weights. I didn't change the name for that because I think it's quite well established. But I added free weights. And the free weights are for the gradient, for the derivative terms, for the gradient terms. If the free weights have the length of cell size, the number of cells, then it's projected on the faces, or you could directly give it face weights, right? So that will open up the idea that we can have weights that are fixed and weights that are open, free for our like directives to update, without having to worry about interfering with like sensitivity weighting or whatnot. So it's kind of like a second level of weighting on top.
I always thought it could be interesting. Like I know I've talked to you before about it, making use of some of those inner product matrices from discretize to do some of those things, because that would also allow us to handle like anisotropic weighting, meaning like weighting, X and Y derivatives together. So instead of just having like a diagonal weight, you can like skew it in a certain direction, right? Rotation direction.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I would say let's just do it simple for now, and then we can expand. We can expand it after. Sounds great. Yeah, because right now it's just a property called free weights, and we could just overload it with something more complicated. Yeah.
But if we could make use of those inner product matrices, it'd be interesting to be able to just naturally support like the cell weights and then XX, XY, Z, or XX, YY, ZZ, and then
Yeah.
out there. Same way we just support like NS.
Is that Joe? Are you talking about like that rotation, like a rotating the matrix? Is that the idea? Okay.
Yeah, rotating the matrix.
Like a DOM, you've done this, right? Like it was think of that kind of assigning that local or like a rotation. I think I thought you've done this before.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a little bit more complicated than just combining XYZ because you kind of need to touch the other neighbors. That's what the work I was working on.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. Yeah, we have a space to be able to explore it. And yeah, that's good. That's great.
Great.
So yeah, the pull request is PR if you want to have a sneak peek. I don't think anyone has the bandwidth to do extra work, but it's 10:40. I put a label in progress on it.
Is that built off of your 1037 one as well?
No, I just branched off of main. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the thing is that 1037, it's updating the current regularization framework, but it's going to change so much. Yeah. We're collapsing so many classes. Like it's not going to look the same at all. So
Definitely a fan of reusing code. You don't like seeing duplicated code. So.
Big time.
Cool.
That's it.
Anyone else want to share anything? If not, I think we'll see y'all next week then.
I might have one more question for you, Joe. Just
Go
working
ahead.
on the PR last Friday. At some point, code coverage, it was not like the code coverage test was just not starting. It was not like you see it in the list that it's not there, and it's done that for like a few commits now. I'm just wondering what's happening, if you notice.
On which one?
I'm just
the
not...
PGI improvements?
Yes. Just a warning that, like, at the last time he was checking, like the coverage was like good, but yeah, it just doesn't get started when I push a new commit on that one for some reason.
I will check. I'm curious if it's just that it hasn't changed. Maybe I don't know, but I'll check again.
There's been big change since.
Yeah.
Like the whole plotting utils has been added since the last time it got checked. So I'm not sure what's happened.
I will check on it. Looks like it has permissions, but okay. Well, I'll look into that. See you all next week. I'll put up a little poll on Slack. And
have a good one.
take care.
See you guys.
See you all. Bye-bye.